Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing great today. Welcome back. All right, so this week I am doing a costume for a roller skater. Now, just like on ice, they do the exact same thing on roller, except with 4 wheels instead of a blade. Now, I don't often get contacted to do costumes for roller skaters. I believe that is because they have some crazy rules. I think, I hear from people that comment on my Instagram and Facebook. They're like, oh my gosh, I wish that we didn't have these crazy rules, but they just took away that we can use crystals, which is crazy. You can't use crystals? That's the best part about a costume, right? So I think because of those rules, and I am, of course, the bling king, I don't really get asked to do roller skating. However, I am doing a costume for a roller skater who I believe, I didn't ask her, but I believe that she is an adult skater, and I think she probably only competes here in the US and not internationally and has the international rules. So I don't know if that's different because I am doing some bling for her on her costume. So she has given me very, I would say, lenient, open design concept, because I think she just said, I want something bright. I want something, I like bright colors, and I want a couple of different colors. So here is what I came up with. So we've got a mainly purple dress, and then in the bust area, as you can see, there's going to be some raspberry and hibiscus, my hibiscus color. My hibiscus color is basically a magenta. So it's kind of in between the purple and the raspberry. I like to say that my hibiscus, it looks purple if you put it on a raspberry, and it looks pink if you put it on the purple. So it's kind of that in between. So the top part will have kind of the stripes. So I think this will be fun. So I'm going to bring you along to show you my full process, like always, of doing this costume. I have always felt, I grew up as an ice skater in figure skating. But I've always felt connected to the roller world in a way, because my very first coach started on roller. He was a very well-known roller coach. He had world pair champions and everything. And right before I started skating, which is around 92, kind of aging myself here now, around 92, he switched from coaching roller and moved down here. He lived in Chicago. He moved down here to Atlanta and started coaching here in Atlanta. And so he taught me for the 5 or 6 years that he coached before retiring. So I've just always felt kind of connected. When I competed as well, before I started making my own costumes, my costume designer was a roller costume designer. So I kind of feel like I have a lot of tie-ins to the roller world. So this is kind of fun to do a costume for a roller skater. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to bring you over here to my pattern table, and we can chit-chat about my process of starting the pattern, and then we can start cutting, sewing, and then doing the good part, which is the beading. All right, here we go. Let's get her started. All right, we're at my pattern table here. So whenever I start at my pattern table, I always have to start thinking, okay, how am I going to build this thing? Because you'll have a picture, and you need to make this reality. And sometimes I keep in mind when I'm drawing a design, okay, how am I going to create this? How is this going to work? I kind of get a little bit of an idea, but really when I get to this point, I got to figure it out. So with this costume, it has the stripes on the front bust area. So normally I like to do a mesh over a lycra. I do this for a couple of reasons. One reason is that a lot of times I'm doing a mesh skirt, and I want the bodice to blend perfectly with the skirt. And sometimes the lycra and the mesh will be a slightly different shade. They're not exact. And so when you put the mesh over the top, it kind of blends it all in so it looks like the same color. Another reason is that I don't like this 4-way lycra to me, because when I first started sewing, they had 2-way lycra. And it was a better texture, whereas this 4-way lycra, it looks a little rubbery to me and maybe slightly cheaper. And so I I like putting the mesh over it because I think it gives a little more expensive look to it, and it makes it a little more matte, a better texture. So I do that. And then as well, crystals take to the mesh really, really well because I think it gets in between the holes. And one thing that I found with the 4-way Lycra, when you bead on it, if you are not completely perfect with laying your crystals down and not getting too much glue, it will leave little, I want to call them watermarks, but just little stains around the crystals. And I like to be able to have it all nice and clean looking when somebody looks up close. I'm sure if you look at the majority of people's work up close, you're seeing little stains and little messy parts. And from far away, it totally looks fine. But for me, I'm mainly seeing these things up close. So I'm like, I want to enjoy what I'm looking at when I'm making it, and I want it to look, as best as possible. So for this dress, normally I would do the mesh over the top. But since I have these stripes, I'm not going to do that. It's not gonna lay well because I'm going to have to make these stripes. So the purple part on the bottom will have the mesh over the top, but the top, I think I'm going to make a raspberry base, and then I'm going to cut stripes in the hibiscus magenta color to give the kind of chevron look going up. So because I'm doing this, I'm going to have to be very careful when I add the crystals to not get those stains around the crystals. So then the next thing I need to do is figure out how I am going to make this. So I always pick out when I figure out the size, then I pick out my base of the dress. Now, some people who who are just doing a few costumes a year, they may not be as experienced in pattern making as I am. And I don't like to think that I'm the best. I know what I'm doing on a skating costume. I couldn't make a wedding dress. I couldn't do other things. I mean, I probably could figure it out, but it would not be, perfect. Whereas I've kind of really perfected the art of costumes because this is what I do, and I've been doing it for over 25 years. So I know little tips and techniques to make them perfect. But a regular everyday person, like many of you who are watching, who is just doing maybe a couple costumes a year for your daughter or a friend or yourself, you may go to a pre-made pattern company and try to find something that is close to your idea and then adjust from there. So basically, I'm kind of doing the same thing as that because I have my own base patterns that I created years ago. I started with a company called Specialty Sportswear, who I believe Charlie, she's the owner, that her kids were roller skaters. So this is tying into the video as well. So more roller skating. And so I started with her patterns about 30 years ago, and I've just adjusted throughout the years to what I need them to be. So of course, if you were to take my patterns now and put them up to those patterns, they'd be totally different. But I felt like those were a really good base for me, at least, to start. So check out Specialty Sportswear. This is not sponsored. I just really love Charlie, and she's been so sweet to me over the years. So I have my base patterns that I have come up with, and so I just choose what is going to be the closest body shape that I need, and then I can go in and create style lines. Now, style lines are when you're doing a sweetheart. That's a style line. Or, you're doing, a plunging neckline or whatever. Those are what are style lines. So you just find the base. So this is my base pattern. And then I can go in here and draw on style lines to make it give the shape that I want. But it's constructed with the same base pattern. So I have many of these different base patterns, depending on if it's sleeves, high neck, open back, whatever. And I just go in and I find what is the best. Now, sometimes I will use them and then I will can make a completely different starting pattern. But a lot of times I can create off of a basic base pattern and then just adjust with the style lines to make it perfect. All right, so I'm going to do that now. And you can watch me create, and then we will chit chat after I have finished exactly what I'm going to do in the next steps of the cutting and sewing. All right, so here we go. All right, we've got the patterns done so that we're ready to cut, but we'll go over them real quick. So, of course, the bottom part here, as you can see in the drawing, is purple. So we have on the purple bodice, bottom parts that V down, we have front and we have back. And then on the top of the bodice part, I'm going to be cutting this out of the raspberry and then adding in the hibiscus stripes. I have the top and the back. Now on the back, as you can see, this will be nude mesh. I like to, what is called applique, a lot of my costumes, which means that you're, instead of seaming things in, you are actually having, say, this piece here, and then I can put a piece of nude mesh over this, cut all this away, and then have these two. This is a small pieces, so I'm cutting a lot away. But the reason why I like doing this, and I will even, instead of doing a seam at the V, I will actually applique these on top of each other, zigzag on the edge, and then cut away the pieces. The reason why I do this is that I have found, like if you're doing something that's not beaded and you want it nice and clean, you can do the seaming and spend your time to do that seaming. But since I'm going to be beading on it, I find that it is easier to bead when things are as flat as possible and you don't have a seam, because sometimes when things pull, so if you're pulling at the seam and you beaded it, it may, the seam may pull a little more, and then you're seeing that seam. And so I just find it easier to get stronger lines when you do this applique, and then it's easier to bead over, and you can bead right on the edge, and it's nice and flat, whereas you can get a little bulky when you have seams. So, a lot of times I'm doing this because I am doing a lot of beading, and so you're covering up those edges, because it won't look like, this will not look good if I were just to sell this without any beading. Doing this applique work the way that I'm doing it, it will not look good by itself. You have to really have the crystals to cover up, but it gives the cleanest final product when you do it this way, I have found. So I will I will applique these together. All right, and then I've got a neck piece, and then I've got skirt and panty over here. So I'm gonna get to cutting. I'm trying to think if there's anything else with the pattern that I should let you know about. I don't think so. All right, so let's start the cutting. So this is my cutting table over here. So I'll bring you over here. All right, now we're ready to get starting on the cutting of this costume. Now, I wanted to talk about two things. People always ask me about my cutter. This is a electric rotary cutter, and it really has saved my hands from doing all the cutting that I do. I got this originally, I had a wonderful assistant who worked for me for about 10, 11 years. And when she first came to work for me, we got her this. And so she really learned how to use it. And then once she left me and I started just working alone by myself, then I had to really figure it out. But for years, when I first started, I'd cut everything by myself and I would ruin my hand. I would get this big lump right here. And actually in 2014, I had to have surgery on my wrist because my tendon stopped working. So this has saved my hand. Now this is called Tuffy, and it is from a company called Conso. I have it linked below if you would like to buy it. It is kind of expensive, but it is absolutely worth it, especially if you're doing a lot of cutting. You can pretty much cut everything. There are little tiny pieces that you get to that you have to snip with the scissors, but I love it. But anyway, I have it linked below in the description. I have an Amazon store that has a lot of little goodies in there that I use that you can go to and check those out. And if you are to click on them and then purchase that item, it gives me a little bit of kickback. So if you are enjoying this content that I'm giving you and you want to help me out, go buy some stuff. All right. So Conso Tuffy. It's there. Now, another thing that I have, people are always asking me about the lining that I use. And this is actually a two-way Lycra, so it doesn't really stretch in one direction, which I like because it kind of gives the costume a little more structure. But it's very soft. And they do sell some lining fabric, like actual lining fabric, and it's very thin and it's not great. But this is just a regular old two-way Lycra that's in a kind of a light nude color, that works great. And so I use this on all of my costumes. Now, I currently have it on my stock website. I have a stock website up now, which was easier to have two websites. I have my main website, and then I have what is called my stock website. My stock website is basically anything that I have that is ready to ship, like costumes or little trims. I have my elastic on there. You can go there and you can buy it. I have put this on there so that if you want to buy a yard or two to use on your costumes, you can just go to bradgstock.com and order that. You can order your elastic. And then I'm going to be trying to get some other goodies up there. And then, of course, if you are just a skater and you want a costume that's ready to go, I have some of those on there as well. So bradgstock.com. So go check that out. Anyway, I will cut everything out in this lining, and then I will glue this lining with that 505 spray, which is also in my Amazon store, which I cannot sew without that stuff. If they got rid of it, I would be done for. So I will cut out all the lining, and then we will get to gluing and then the sewing. All right. So here we go. I'm going to speed you up. All right, all the sewing is done. If you have seen a lot of these videos that I do where I do the start to finish, most of them have sleeves and I'm doing beading on those sleeves. So I like to halfway sew it up, lay the dress flat, do the beading on the sleeves, and then I can bring it back to the sewing machine, sew up the side seams and put the skirt on and then finish all the beading. However, this dress has no sleeves, so we can just bead it all at once. So I really like that when that happens. All right, so here is the front of the dress. We've got the purple on the bottom, and then we've got the contrasting raspberry and hibiscus stripes on top, and I'm really happy with how that came out. And I'm gonna do a nice crystal detail down the center, and then of course bling the rest of it. And then we've got the back with a nude mesh. Now there's lines in here that you can't probably currently see, but I'm gonna bead them to look like straps. So the next thing I need to do is pack up the crystals that I need from my studio, and we are going to go home so that I can sit there and bead all day tomorrow and try to get the majority of her done so that I can get her out to the customer. So I like to normally bead at home because it's just I can kind of relax there. I don't have to worry about, you know, packing up in the middle of the day to go home and then unpack and start again. I can just be at home and sit there all day and watch TV, watch YouTube, listen to podcasts, listen to a book on, you know, an audiobook, and get her done. So that is what we're going to do. So the next time you see me, I will be at home. I will discuss with you at that point what I'm going to do with the beading, and then I will show you how I did the beading on it. All right. So I think we are ready to go. So next time you see me, I will be at home, which is right now. All right, I have come home. Now I'm set up to start some beading here while I can watch the Tony Awards, actually, which I'm very excited about because I'm a big Broadway fan. So what I have is I have my foam board here that I like to stuff into the dress. Now this is a 16 by 12. I just make them all different sizes. Like I have a 14 by 10. So just depending on the size that I'm working on, I stuff it in. Now I don't make it so that it stretches the same size. So it's a little bit smaller than the dress, but I like to be able to, when I put it down, wherever I have it, there's still room in it, but then I can pin into it so that I can make it flat, kind of like this. So I'm going to start down the center first, and then I can go out from there around the sides. So I just pin all around where I need it so that I have everything nice and flat, and then I can start the beading. But I love these boards. I just make them myself. I just cut them to the size that I need, and then I wrap them in a tape that's for shipping. And then I put, on this one currently has some parchment paper over the top in case I bead onto the mesh and then the glue goes through that mesh. It won't stick to the parchment paper. But if you're not beading straight through a mesh, then you can just have it with the regular tape. And the tape really, the crystals won't stick to it terribly. You can still pull it off and you're not going to hit paper or whatnot. But I still like to put the parchment paper. But I'll probably maybe do a video at some point of how I cut that down. So if you would like to see a video on that, please comment below. But I just pin it all in, make sure there's no wrinkles left in the area that I'm going to be working on. And then I can start the beading. So I'm going to start the beading down the center here, and then I'll go out to the sides. So keep watching, but this is just the best way that I found, that you can just pin into this nice little foam board. A lot of the cheaper boards, they're like, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch, but I get the nicer foam boards that you can get at craft stores, because you can pick some of these up at just like a, you know, like a regular like CVS or whatnot. But if you go to an actual art store, a lot of times they'll have the 1/2 inch foam board. So get one of those, because then you have more room to pin into and you're not going fully through it and trying to pin in. All right, so I'm going to start the beading. You can watch along and we will bling her all the way up. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to pause for a second so we can discuss what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to be doing a thicker beading down the center of this chevron pattern, and then I'll go out with the crystals this way. But I got to figure out what I want to use, because I want to use some shapes down the center here. Like I said, if you look close here, this doesn't look like a really nice binding. So if I was just leaving this plain, or wasn't going to be doing some thick beading down the center, I would have finished this off a little differently. I probably would have done it as one piece. But since I was going to be down the center, it didn't matter, and I just pieced them together kind of like a tile. All right, so I got to figure out what I want to do. Now, this customer is pretty open to me kind of playing around, which is good. That's when I can make magic, is when I can kind of sit in the moment, see what's coming to me. I still like to keep it, you know, in the same vein of the render that I've done. I don't want to change it up and totally give her a different design, but I can kind of play around with shapes. So I have all different kind of shapes in Crystal AB here. I basically brought all my shapes in Crystal AB, and I just got to figure out, you know, what I want to use. Do I want to use, you know, squares or rectangles, triangles, or whatever? But I have these ones that I really like, and I think that would be really pretty. They're kind of like a triangular round stone. I can't remember the name of them, but I think they would be really pretty on here. So I got to figure out exactly where I want to place them. But when I can kind of just play around and pull shapes out and look, that's when things really, really turn out really nice and unique. Sometimes I have customers who really micromanage me, and they want to know exactly what size crystal and the color and exactly the place that I'm putting it. And when I get micromanaged like that, that's when a dress, I like to say, comes out a little stale. It doesn't end up coming out, you know, to me, like something that is unique or really, really, really pretty. So when somebody lets me play around, that's when I can, like I say, make my magic. So I'm going to play around a little bit, figure out exactly where I want these to go, and then we will figure that out, and hopefully it turns out nice. I think it will. So I'm going to play around. You keep watching along, and I'll speed you up. Okay, here we go. All right, and she is done. I'm really happy with how she came out. It's not very often that I do multiple colors within one costume. A lot of times I'm sticking with a monochromatic in the base dress, but it's always fun to kind of go out of your comfort zone and try something new. So I'm really happy how this came out with the stripes, and then we got the purple on the bottom, and then of course all the beading. And it just so happened that this little design that I did down the center fit perfectly within this. Sometimes you will be beading and things just magically perfectly happen and line up. Sometimes they don't, and you just kind of gotta, you know, fudge it a little bit, and that's all right. But this one ended up hitting everything perfectly, where everything just fit in and was great. So we've got those crystal AB and those little squares, and then we also got some little baguettes in there to create this. We have some little teeny tiny, I don't even know what you call those, little round corners in here. And then of course we've got crystal AB and the stripes, and then we've got fuchsia on the raspberry, and then we've got fuchsia shimmer onto the hibiscus, and then we've got some little rectangular cosmic stones up here along with some crystal AB and some fuchsia shimmer. And then of course down here on the bottom on the purple we have heliotrope, which is one of my favorite colors. Heliotrope is known as a special effects color, and a special effects color basically is that it's a clear crystal, and the backing, normally the back of like a clear crystal would be silver, but this is a like a mirrored purple, so then it gives it its purple color, and then when you kind of move it around it will slightly change color. So you'll see that in volcano or meridian blue, in vitriol light, vitriol medium. So those are special effects colors where basically the mirror is colored and it gives it its color. And so I just love the punch of purple. Purple can be very hard because it is it's normally a deep color, so especially within crystals, they don't give a lot of sparkle. So because these are the mirrored special effect purple, it gives a little punch of purple, whereas a lot of the other purples, they are so dark and deep or not bright and vibrant enough. But these are really the perfect purple crystal. So look out for heliotrope if you want to add them to your purples. All right, we'll spin her around to the back. We've got, of course, where it looks like the straps beaded on the nude. We've got another little square diamond decal here on the back. And then, of course, we've got the little crystal AB that kind of comes up like we do in the front. We've got this nice long skirt that's for dance, so it gives a little extra coverage, but still asymmetrical. So you still see the leg on one side, but longer on the back right side of the body. I'm really happy with how this came out. And if you want to see how I did these stripes, how I appliqued these stripes on, you can check out my video from a couple of days ago, and it will show my process of cutting out these stripes and laying them down and appliquing them on. So hopefully that is helpful to you. And you, of course, can use this technique with anything. It doesn't have to be stripes. It could be, you know, little flower cutouts, or, you know, rectangles or diamonds or whatever you want to do. Sky's the limit with your imagination. So check out that video here on this channel to see how I made the stripes in a perfect chevron pattern, really, to go up with the cut of the dress. Now this dress, if you notice, there's pins in it. And the reason why there's pins in it is that this size is slightly over my mannequin size, so it would bunch here. So if you were like, why does he have pins in there? It's because it's a size bigger than what my mannequin, and I don't have a mannequin that is a larger size, because they really only make it in like one size, which is basically adult small, and this is more of an adult medium size. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful to see some little tips and tricks within this style, and I hope you're enjoying these start to finishes. I just think it's fun to like see the different styles and the little techniques that I do to create those different styles. And so, you know, while they are all this kind of a similar video, they are different with seeing how I do different little techniques, like adding these stripes in, or I've got a zipper coming up as well if you want to know how to put in the perfect flat zipper into the back of your dress. So look out for that video. And with that being said, let's do some housekeeping. So first off, if you are enjoying these videos, it'd be really, really helpful to me if you shared them with any friends that you think may enjoy these videos. If you were part of a Facebook group that, like I know there's a lot of sewing groups, there's some with stretch fabric, whatever. If any of those groups you think would love seeing the videos that I'm making, please share them, because I'm trying to build my audience. And so any little bit of sharing helps. And then you can also, very helpful to me is to like, subscribe, and comment on this video here on YouTube. You can leave me a comment below, and I will, and if you have any questions, I will try to answer them. But if you don't have any questions and you just want to give me a little bit of love, then you can leave, like, oh, this was an amazing video, I so enjoyed it. Or you can leave me a little emoji of just hearts, or, heart eyes. I love that one. I love the smiley face heart eye guy. And then if you push the bell notification, it lets you know when I put out new videos here on YouTube. All right, this is a lot of stuff to remember when I do this. I'm trying to, go through it quickly. Okay, so then next would be check out my websites. I have two websites, braggraphies.co, and that's my main website, and that's where you can see all of my made-to-order dresses, and you can order them there, whether they're beaded or unbeaded, and you can do small little customizations on them, like changing out skirts or little sleeve options. And then, of course, if you want to purchase one of my custom costumes, there's all the information there on that website, braggraphies.co, on how to order a custom costume. And then I have a secondary website, which is bradgstock.com, and that is where I house everything that is ready to ship to you, anything that I'm wanting to get rid of. So I have some dresses on there. I have some sewing supplies like my elastic. I have my liner currently. I hope to put up more fabric. I just have to find the time to do that. So keep an eye out on that. And then I have some trims like crystals and stuff that I have a little bit of crystals on there now, but I'm going to be adding some more trims and crystals as well when I also find the time for that. So if you want to go there, check that out. Then I also have an Amazon store, and that Amazon store is where I have kind of created a collection on Amazon of the things that I use when I create these costumes. So I have my spray glue, I have my rotary, my electrical rotary cutter, I have my airbrush, I have everything on there that I really use within my daily life of creating these costumes. And if you are interested in what I'm using, you can go there and you can click on the link and buy it. And when you do that by clicking on the link, that gives me a little bit of kickback. It's not a lot, but anything helps. So if you're enjoying this content and you want to support the channel and you want to support me, go there and see what I got, and then, buy it. I got glue for beading. I got a lot of little beading tools, pickup tools. I have the little trays and the little tray holder, which is really helpful. So go check me out there. Now, that is down in the description below to, there's a link to that Amazon store. And then the last thing, if you want to follow me, you of course can follow me here on YouTube, but I do a lot of posting on Instagram. And you can see a lot of my up-close detailed work and pictures there with my beading. So if you are interested in seeing like real up close to, all of my beading and seeing how I'm doing it, go check me out. Check me out there at Braggraphies. You can also do it on Facebook. It basically gets kicked over to Facebook from my Instagram. But then also what is really helpful about Instagram is that I always put out any kind of notifications to my followers that I would like them to know, whether it's I'm having a sale, whether I put up new stuff in the stock website, I have new styles coming out, I have new videos coming out, or whatever. So you can get those notifications. So if you want to know what is going on, you really need to follow me on Instagram. And then with that being said, I think we're done, right? I hope you really enjoyed this video. I'm gonna, get back into, I've got some in the can, so I'm gonna be doing, one weekly for a while now. And so I got a lot of good designs that I think are really interesting to see how they come to life from that drawing. So check those out. And then of course I have my little bonus videos, and a lot of the bonus videos that I'm going to be doing, like this one, whereas my last video, you could see how I did these stripes. Like I said, I have a dress coming up that has a zipper, so there'll be the bonus video before it doing the zipper, and then the full dress if you want to see the full dress. So I'm going to have a lot of those little videos, and then I'm going to be trying to putting together some other videos like beading video, because I know that's really one thing that people are really, really interested in is how all my beading techniques and tools that I use and stuff like that. So I have some good ideas for that video. I just have to find the time to do it. So hopefully in the next few weeks, I will be doing that. So if you enjoy this content, like I said, like, subscribe, comment, go check out my websites, go check out my Amazon store. Please share me on your with your friends and in any of your social media groups that you have. And with that being said, it's time for me to move on to the next costume. And so I hope that you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.